Magandang umaga.
Good afternoon. I think it's actually afternoon right now. Yeah, it's like 2:15.
Alright then, well it's magandang hapon. Okay. Magandang hapon everybody. Welcome back to the video. It is the penultimate day here at Cushion and Chartered before we fly back to sunny England with a load of rain and 7 degrees.
Don't get me upset.
We can't wait.
Don't make me upset, please.
We're taking full advantage of the sun today and we're having our final day trip with our final adventure in the Philippines until next year. So we've started our day by having some breakfast, that's done and dusted, and we're waiting for our grab to arrive. And we are adventuring today with the one and only Les's Lodger. So
Les's Lodger.
I said Les's Lodger. No, that's a lie. Les's Lodger. That's not right, is it?
No, that is definitely
my bad.
Loz's
Leisure. I don't know why that said it backwards. Yeah, so we're with Loz. We spent last night with him having a good old chat, meeting up. We've watched each other's videos for a really long time. So it actually was really strange to meet each other and know that we've never actually met, but we both know each other very well. So we're going to introduce you to him in just a moment, but for now, we're waiting for our grab.
Here he is.
Welcome to
C6 so quickly in my life.
welcome to the taxi, Les's Lodger.
Les's Lodger.
Sounds
a bit rude if you ask me.
Oh Lord.
Dear.
And is it got a lot of like famous people or important like political people buried there?
Yes, the former best action star in the Philippines who runs for the presidency.
Jose Rizal was there too, right?
He's buried there. Couple of mayors, people, representative in Congress, senators.
Okay.
That's really interesting. And you're only allowed to be buried there for a few years. So do they also?
You have to pay for it. Okay.
So if you want it, you can't be buried there long. You can extend.
I
Okay.
think it's 5 years.
So we've been in our grab for about 2 hours so far, and we've still got 2 kilometers left to go, and the traffic's just not really moving. Oh, is it only one?
And we're moving now.
And we're moving.
We're moving more now than we have probably for about an hour. However, we've lost the sun, and we're 2 hours down, so it's 4 o'clock, and the sun has put us out. So the only thing that we're fighting against now, other than the traffic, is sundown. We're out, we've made it, we're not in the car. It's a bit windy, it's a bit grey. However, we have to introduce you to someone who you probably already know. You would have seen him last night in our videos because we went for a drink and we had the best pizza of life.
It's Les's Lodger.
It's Les's Lodger!
So guys, we made it. We made it. A lot of hustle and bustle, but we made it in to the cemetery
inside
with the camera, so we can take you with us, which is even better. So it's not a wasted day.
We have John. We're going to introduce you to our video. This is John. He is going to be our tour guide and he is going to show us around. So what happened was we got to the gates and we was told that you're not allowed to film inside unless you have a permit, and you have to go to the other side of Manila to get the permit, which costs 5,000. It's 4 p.m. It's not going to happen. So we negotiated. We put our biggest smiles on our faces. We spoke to the officer in charge, and the officer in charge agreed that we were allowed to pay 2,500 peso between the 3 of us for a permit, so that we could film and take pictures inside of the actual cemetery. There are very important people buried here. They were like, I'm not sure if we want you to record or take pictures of certain people's graves, and obviously we would respect that, that's fine. We just wanted to actually get in because it took so long to get here, so we're happy to be here. It took all day. So it's free because it's a cemetery, so people come here, they pay for the grave for when you die. So people live here because it's free. But we know that there is a big community of maybe 10,000 people who live in this cemetery. Are they allowed to live here, or is it impossible to stop them from
It's impossible to stop.
because there's so many people?
Yes.
And do they have water and electricity and
There are some of them have a submitted.
Loz has made friends, guys.
You're looking good. That's exactly the reason we wanted to come, because not only is it a cemetery, but it's a place where people live.
Same colour. Same.
okay, so on the way out?
Same.
I was on the way out. Okay. And then, this whole entire cemetery is one of the oldest in the Philippines, and it's not the oldest, but it's one of the oldest, and it covers an area space of 54 hectares. And the reason I was fascinated with this, it actually is down to James D. Boy experiment. When we went for a drink with them the other night, they were telling us that they'd done research and they'd found this place, and instantly I was really fascinated. The reason being, it took us a long time to get here. It's obviously not in Makati, it's in actual Manila. But what's fascinating about it is it's not so far away from Makati. And Makati has Barangay Bele. And if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, Bele is one of the richest, if not the richest barangays in the whole country. To know that the richest barangay in the country is so close to a place where people come and live in a cemetery and settle, and it's not like it's a new thing. This is like generations upon generations upon generations of families on a regular and ongoing basis. They live here, they build a life here, they choose that life. Some of them are homeless and don't, some of them are born into it and have no choice. But at some point, there were some people, they are noisy. At some point, somebody decided to settle. So apparently John was saying that people have travelled and left their province from other parts of the country and then come to Manila and can't afford to stay in rent and take an apartment. So instead of doing that, they choose the free option, which is to make a settlement. And the settlement in the cemetery is free, and there are that many people living here that it's impossible to get them to move on. So they're not technically allowed to be here, but they can't be forced to move on because there's so many of them. And in the background you can see, I'm going to move out of the way so it focuses, there is literally a sari shop outside of a tomb, and the officer in charge has given permission for people to sleep inside the tombs to deter them from building their own accommodation, like huts or shelters along the roadside. So they've kind of compromised and allowed that to happen so that people have somewhere comfortable and dry. Well, I say comfortable, they have somewhere dry, I suppose, and protected from elements to an extent to sleep in. But it's just, when you're walking around, there's a community feel, and you have to just keep reminding, like, that is a cockerel in a cemetery. A cockerel in a cemetery. There's a community feel. But you just remind yourself, like, this is literally a cemetery, that this is people living among the dead, and it's fascinating that people choose to do it. But obviously, again, you need to remember that a lot of people don't choose this life. It's fascinating. So in this tomb here is a turo. So they have their tricycles and their little family business. And beside the graves. Hello!
So this monument is very popular because there's a street in Mabini, and the guy that has a street named after him called Nakpil, and this is where he's buried. So he's like a famous, maybe a writer, or he's a very famous person in Mabini, and this is where he's buried.
So they kept the lot. So this is the lot. Is all of this inside his family?
Yes.
Everyone. So this whole entire lot belongs to his family.
But in
The front of the cemetery is expensive.
yes, and also in here.
Yeah, because this is the beginning. This is still the front, right? So it can cost between 2 and 10 million for a lot. Because that's quite a big size. This tomb is the tomb of a war veteran, very well respected man, and obviously he has his whole family buried here also. I think the information is at the front. So there's a few dates here of 1896, 1915, 1920, 1973, 1974, 1993. It's all in a different language, so I can't actually understand it, but we can go inside. You are allowed, but I don't want to be intrusive. So we're kind of just admiring the way the tombs have been built, and what's fascinating is that you're in a cemetery where there is a million different graves, and every single one of them is built different. None of them are the same. Everybody's is identified like completely different.
Ate, di ba dito ka nakatira? You're living here.
Oh, in this here?
In there.
Below?
Yes.
Now?
No.
Oh, when he was young.
Since 70s.
1970s. They are living here.
They are living
Underneath? Below?
Yeah, in below.
Wow.
This is bone script. Bone script ba to? Bone script. But now this is for the babies. Angels for the heaven.
Right, okay.
This is called angels for the heaven. For babies only.
Right,
no bones.
Okay. Just only babies.
Only for babies.
Right.
For now.
So now he doesn't live there. He has a house outside of the cemetery. He's left.
So bones crypts, that's where all the bones are. There'll be thousands of bones.
But not below, only babies.
Only babies.
Only the babies' bodies. Tomb is for war veterans who were part of fighting the Spanish Revolution.
They would have died. So there's
And they've-
commanders, lieutenants, generals, colonels, captains.
Wow.
There's like a lot of higher ranking. This
I
is the
thought
higher
it was
ranking
just his
people.
family, so it's not his family. It's the soldiers tomb. Right. Okay. That's why it's so grand.
These are the bone crypts where you can rent, and then if you don't pay, once your lease is up, they open the bone crypts up, and then they put you in the mass graves, or you can extend and keep your lot, and then you can just stay for as long as you're willing to pay, basically.
So the Jewish community in the Philippines came over to the Philippines during World War II.
Yes.
And it was the president at the time took them in to save them, and they ended up settling in the Philippines, and that's where the Jewish community came from within the country. So that on its own is absolutely fascinating, because I didn't know
That's
that.
very recent.
It's not that long ago, really.
Not really, no.
It's
And
in
there's a
our-
whole
there's
like
a-
section.
So we're going into the Jewish graveyard now, and only Jewish people are allowed to be buried here. And they're descendants of the people who came over to settle from the Second World War. So Jewish people are obviously originate from Israel, and as a result of the president taking a lot of Jews in for refuge and helping them escape the war in World War II, there is no visa permit that is needed from Filipinos to enter Israel, so they can get in there visa free because of that friendship that the country has because of what the Philippines done for the people all them years ago.
That is crazy. I never even knew that, never got taught that at all. So Loz, how are you finding your history lesson?
It's
Mad, right?
It's pretty mad, finding out a lot that I just didn't even have any idea about. But it's also just crazy to see this like juxtaposition of absolute normality and regular daily life going on alongside.
You would never think.
The gravestones and the tombs and the mausoleums, people living in mausoleums, people setting up shops outside them. It's
crazy, right?
Like it's actually quite hard to wrap your head around, I think.
Yeah. So it's really important to learn like the culture because people miss all this out and have no idea.
This is a place where thousands of people live, and this is something that I hadn't even heard of before a couple of days ago, and that you never hear people learning about or like just taking in. And this is thousands and thousands of people's everyday reality here in Manila.
Mad. So these guys here, they live here and they're the caretakers for this whole area.
You're standing in a cemetery and there's a cockerel over there. And you're kind of like, it's hard to get your head around because 1 minute you're like cemetery and then the next minute you're like community and then you're back to cemetery and then you're in a tomb and then you're back to like a sari shop and then an eatery and then there's a cockerel, and it's like trying to actually get your head around that community of people live with the dead is absolutely fascinating. It's mind-boggling. I just can't ever imagine that ever happening at home because we have such a fear of death and such a fear of like as a society in England, it's just something that if I see a cemetery at home and it's dark, I walk the long way around. I won't go past the cemetery.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's kind of the same for pretty much everybody at home. Nobody kind of goes near the cemetery. So to actually get your head around the fact that not only do they walk through and past the cemetery, they live here. Like they actually live here, and this is just usual for them. And it just goes to show you that it's a very resilient country and community of people that are just happy to do what they're doing, and that's their way of earning their money, and that's their livelihood, and that's just how they've been shown, that's how they've been brought up, and it's normal. And it's interesting to see the different sides of like Filipino life and culture because you see it nice in Bel Air and Makati, and you see all the like the money and the red light district and the party goers,
the big skyscrapers,
you see the big like buildings, BCG, and then the offices and the financial districts, and then you come to like outside of that, not even far, and all of a sudden there's a group of people who walk around with a smile on their face, who live in a cemetery, and that's absolutely okay. It's more shocking for us than anything, but I think it's very important to kind of see both sides of when you're here, both sides, to appreciate kind of where you are and learn about the history of it. So fascinating.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello. Your name? What?
My name is Cody.
So these guys are making friends.
Ready? Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Why do they call you Jollibee?
Kuya, gagan mo kuya. Is Karon. Is Karon.
Kutong. So Cody's about to go and get a drink from a sari shop in the cemetery.
I'm probably never going to have ever again in my life. So I'm about to buy a drink from sari in the middle of the cemetery. And this community here that we're walking into, they have a turo on this sari. And in the mornings, all of the people from the village, the community, they all come here to eat together. That's what John just said.
Oh really? So So the people from this
What do you want?
area within will all eat
too big.
in the morning.
Would you like a drink? Sorry to interrupt. Would you like a drink? Water? Would
Too
you
big.
like a drink?
Malaki or malait?
We'll see what we can get. Small or big?
Cheers.
It's sobrang mainit.
It's very hot, right? Even the guy from Vegas said it's so hot. He goes, "It's never been this
It's
hot
not
before."
hot, it's just humid, so you're just sweating, but it's not actually hot, it's just there's no air.
It's very, very humid. Very
So
humid.
this young guy here, he's just asked what we're doing here.
This guy.
Yeah. And he asked if we're making a vlog and why we are here. And I just said that we've never experienced or even knew that it was possible for people to live in a cemetery before. So he was, he's 18, he's lived here for 15 years. So he's gonna just tell me about it in a second once he's...
And he owns the sorry shop.
I'm not sure. I don't think so, he was only 18.
Huh?
So you moved here when you was a child? Does all of your family live here? Everybody, your mom, your parents, your grandma? Ah, okay. Before here, where did you live? Before?
Outside barangay 130 ka lang.
So, do you know why your family came here? Why did they move to the cemetery?
We help your house.
And did you just build this family built this? And this is your family's store. This is their business. How they make their money. The sari.
They get a contract and then they take care of you.
So, do you think? What do you want? Because I see this. So you're in college, or are you?
Yeah.
You're in college. What are you studying in college?
Be a psychologist.
Psychology. Very good job.
That's a good job. Good job.
I don't know if we
We'll find a job. You're not sure. Do you want to live in the Philippines and do psychology, or do you want to work abroad?
if I give a opportunity. Why
You
not?
will go.
Come to England. It's okay. There's many Filipinos in England.
Many
Filipinos.
In England, psychology is a very good job. Many people do this job. It's good. So you plan to do your education, and then would you like to move away from this area, or are you happy to stay with your family?
If ever given opportunity, why not to leave?
To leave. Yeah.
Can I ask, is there many people in your family that they go to college to get an education, or only you? You're the first. Congratulations. Well done.
Well done.
That's a very big, proud, very brave thing to do. If nobody has already done it, so well done. That's very good. And do you have brothers and sisters? How many?
I have 4 sisters.
4.
Are they all younger than you? Less? And are they? How old are they? What age?
13, 8, 10,
13,
and 6.
So you're the big brother.
Big brother.
Yeah.
You're the example.
That's on the subject.
So that young kid, guys, who was going to college, he's going to the same school as our guide when he was younger.
Amazing.
But not
So cool.
there's a psychology.
Seems like everyone in the cemetery is linked somehow.
There's a link between everyone. So John went to the same college as this young boy we were just speaking to, and when he went to this college he couldn't do psychology, and he's doing criminal psychology, and that's like a new thing, so you could do it as an alone subject but not as a whole course.
Yeah.
And I just feel really proud for him that it's such a brave thing to do, to be the first person to decide, I am going to be the change. I'm going to give my brothers and sisters an example that just because this is what you're born into, you can still do whatever you want to do, no matter where you are, where you're from, and that like makes me feel really proud.
Proud moment, even for me.
I just was
I'm
like,
like, yes, I want him to do well. I want him to do so well.
Yeah, I think to be the eldest and doing that and having
not
4
having
siblings,
an
like
example.
13, 10, 8, 6,
Yeah.
all of these younger siblings that are going to grow up and see that and know that they can do the same.
Amazing, absolutely. Because you can be from anywhere, And a lot of people think that you have to be born into money, you have to be born into privilege, you have to be born into something of some sort of wealth before you're given an opportunity. And he kept saying, if I'm given the opportunity, but he's already give himself
The opportunity.
an opportunity
Yeah.
to do better than anything that he's probably seen as in form of an example. And there's nothing wrong with living the same way that everyone before you has, if that is the only thing that you know. But for him to come up with that decision and be
Try
brave
to
enough
better
to be
himself,
like,
yeah.
I am going to do something about this, is just, I feel really, really proud of him. I felt like he was my family. I was like, wow. I got an opportunity to leave and do this in a foreign country, and I just said to him that I felt like I needed to come back and tell you that you already gave yourself that opportunity, and I don't think you realised that you already gave yourself that opportunity. You don't need anybody to come to you and say, you can have this or you can do this, because you already decided without an example before you that you're capable to do what you want. So don't worry so much about people giving you an opportunity. Just realise that you have the power to give yourself an opportunity, and you already did. And then he was like, thank you, and he started getting like teary, and then he gave me a hug and he was like, you don't understand, this means like so much to me to hear this from somebody who's not my family, to know that they are proud that I done this, because it's difficult. And I said, it's difficult, but without someone telling you and showing you and giving you the example, you've done the brave step of, you gave yourself an opportunity that no one else did. So if you remember that you've done that at 18, you can do that at any point in your life. You can go and be whatever you want to be. And I just felt like I needed to tell you that you don't need other people to give you that opportunity. And it was just like, it's just a bit emotional, because he was really grateful to have that moment and for someone to tell him, and he was a bit emotional and I got a bit emotional. So it was special.
I think it's very special to meet him.
It was special to meet him. He was a special person. He's one of those people who
He's like
makes your
inspirational
moment,
for
like,
the area.
Makes your day. He
Yeah.
makes it, like, he's literally made my day meeting him. He's a very special young boy. Very special.